And that we have over 160,000 games in the system.
Right.
So that's basically any game starting from like year of 2000, early 2000s, I think.
Hello world, welcome to the Pocket Gamer podcast with your hosts, me, Brian Baglow, and the missing in action, Miss Peggy Ann Salts. Peggy, it has been an entire summer since I saw you last. How are you?
I am well, and you're right. It has been a while, Brian. I was like, oh my, here we are back after the break. There was a lot going on, and Gamescom just came and went. Speaking of talking around the world, that's what we have here, and it's the power of social brought us together. I found our guest, and he isn't just, well, he is a gamer, obviously, but he has a different type of a gaming community, one that doesn't just talk about games. It actually tracks the actual time we spend playing them. He's also, like us, he's a podcaster. He's for the indie developer, and he's an expert in turning insights into action. He's based in Korea. So George Jeong, it's great to have you. You are global officer, chief global officer at Minimap. We'll talk about Minimap in a moment, but you're also coming to us today from Seoul, I would imagine.
Yeah, a little bit south to Seoul,
Little
but it's
south, okay.
basically
We
Seoul.
have G-Star on our
Hello, everyone. I'm George. I'm, like Peggy said, Chief Global Officer at Minimap, and I'm also a podcast host.
There
It's
you go.
called Custom Played. We invite indie game developers here and there. We love talking with them, sharing their stories. So that's what I've been
Awesome.
doing a lot.
So, George, it's great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us. But before we jump in, I got to ask, you're running a growing platform, advocating for developers, supporting indie developers, as we just heard, and hosting your own podcast. Now, you joined Minimap in 2024 as a community manager, but I believe your career took quite a few turns before that. So how does this all come together in what you're doing now to give indie developers a global stage?
So I actually have worked in the entertainment industry, I would say. I worked for a professional basketball team here in Korea. Like game and sports has been my thing since like I was a teenager, and obviously that has helped a lot because gaming is one thing that I cannot let go of. I have a 5-year-old, but I still play games. So like, you just can't let go of it. It's just, I love it. And
You're among friends, George. There is no judgment here. I have an 8-year-old. I know more about Roblox lore than Dave Kazuki. Trust me on this.
Yeah, my daughter doesn't play yet, but she's too young for that. But obviously, when she grows up, she'll probably play some Mario Kart with the dad and all the fun stuff.
Love to hear some of the ideas that you have around the differences you're seeing in the regions, in the gaming cultures. For example, how US and Korean gamers express their identity or how they join in communities.
I think the biggest difference I would say would be like how serious people are about their like gaming data. In Korea, they don't like keep track of all the games that they played in an Excel sheet. But in US, I've seen many people who who has never used Minimap, I guess. But they just use an Excel sheet to keep track of everything, playtime, what platform they played it, and all that. And they just love sharing that or bragging about it, achievements and all that. But Koreans are not into those. They're more into like leveling up within the games. Like, oh, I'm like level 200, whatever. I have this awesome item, or I can do like well on PvP and stuff. So I think that was like the biggest difference. And I think that's where we have decided that Minimap should actually expand in the US because they're very, very, interested in getting access to their own gaming data. I think that was the biggest one. And on Minimap, if you sync to different gaming platforms, you can have everything in one place. So that's very neat.
Fantastic. And I guess this whole sports stat approach is something that, there's an entire subset of gamers out there. I will admit this is not how I approach games. But I have a lot of friends, especially here in the UK, who are big fans of Football Manager. So as in soccer. And to me, that is an Excel sheet with some graphics on the front. It's
Yes.
ridiculously stat driven. So I understand it, but I'm equally confused by it. But given those differences and that kind of exposure to this global market, what's one behavior or mindset that's really changed the way that you approach growth and engagement? Is it that stats approach, or is there something else?
Um, to be honest, Korean gamers are very like they're not sharing, their gaming experience to the social media platforms. They probably would love to, but then they have very limited like platforms or places they can do that. They don't go ahead and share everything they played on like Instagram or other places. But in the US, like, they're very open about like what they play or what they're currently doing in terms of, their personal gaming experiences and all. So I think there was one different mindset that I had when I was hitting the US market. And also there are serious gamers in Korea too. Like in terms of like the population wise, I guess, their US is obviously bigger. So they have variety of different gamers. So like each individual have like different gaming experiences that they want to share versus Korea is more like we all go play the same game that's very popular. For example, League of Legends was popular, StarCraft was popular. A lot of people play MMORPG games because that was a big hit back in the day. So um, that's one mindset that I had differently when I was approaching the U.S. market.
What did you find the most surprising? Because that comes back into, I would imagine, how you shape your platform and how you
Hmm.
approach your global growth and reach. I mean, it might have been surprising that Korean culture is such a hit now in the States.
Yeah, yeah. I try to listen to what our users are saying, like, the people who are already on board with Minimap, what they have been suggesting, because obviously there's a cultural difference between Korea and the US, obviously in the gaming industry as well. I try to give them, spaces where they can freely share their experience or upload stuff. So we have our own gaming journal where you can just basically use it as a social media, like a diary, I would say, of your gaming experience. As well as obviously the reviews and star ratings. Those are basic ones that everyone would use. But I think journal is one of the things that a lot of people like because people don't. People sometimes just want to, screenshot the best moment of their gaming experience or, brag about killing this boss and just upload it on. So I'll upload it somewhere. So we've given them the space for that
This is
as
what
well.
Minimap is. It's basically like, I don't know, how would you describe it?
When I go out to talk to people, I would always say data-driven community platform for gamers.
Okay.
So basically, like Letterboxd for games or Goodreads for games. That kind of explains it a bit because we have the social side and the data side. We have merged those two. Yeah. So and we haven't seen any gaming related platform like that. Either
Huh.
it's all about social media or community or it's all about data or yeah. So
Yeah, we have a world where your fan base can be, as a game developer, can be distributed across
mhm.
multiple social channels, multiple forums, multiple kind of uh, closed or open or public or shared spaces. So
Mhm.
I take it Minimap is kind of trying to consolidate all of this in kind of one package. And
Yes.
when you talk about the data side, is that where the value comes for developers and publishers? Is it kind of allowing them insight that they would otherwise have to go and track Twitter or X or Facebook and LinkedIn and Discord? You know, 2 dozen, 3 dozen different channels. Is that, am I right in my thinking?
Yes, for publishers, we have a lot of business partners here in Korea. What we can do is we can specifically target audiences based off
Hmm.
of their needs. Like for example, I mean, a lot of publishers still run their ad campaigns on Google or Meta or sometimes TikTok, but they can't target people who like JRPGs. Like, you can't
Mhm.
do that on Google. Like, obviously, you can't. Like, or people who rated 4 stars on,
Mhm.
I don't know, Elden Ring, or people who played Elden Ring franchise in PS5 or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
But we have all the data, so we can specifically target the audiences that they're looking for. For example, we did an ad campaign with Sony in Korea when they launched the PS5 exclusive title called Stellar Blade. It was initially PS5 exclusive, so obviously you would need to reach those audience who owns a PS5. That's like your initial thoughts, or because there's going to be like not many people who are going to buy PS5 just for that one title.
Yeah.
Um, so then we can target those people there. And we can also specifically target those people who have rated over 4 stars on a game called Nier Automata, which is the game that inspired the director of Stellar Blade to create the game
Mhm.
from the beginning.
Okay.
So that also made a lot of sense. And we had great results from that campaign. So
That's fascinating because it goes back to what several of our
Mhm.
guests who are more focused on sort of psychographics and player types have told us, Brian, is like what I play is what I am. I think it was Alex actually who we were discussing that. Alex from Craftsman
It was. Yeah.
how important that is, what that says about me. So here is another way to look at it and say, okay, there is data captured from what players are actually playing. That's part of the mix. That's part of what makes it possible to target. But I'd also like to say engage. It's not always about selling something, or is it, George?
yeah, I think it's about. I think it's more about engagement. I mean, just because you are like exposed to some kind of advertisement that you're interested in, that doesn't mean you're going to be automatically buy the game. But at least you get the attention, more attention from the people who are more interested. And I think these days, gaming, like marketing in games, it's all about efficiency. We've had so many, horrible layoffs here and there. You know, big publishers losing money here and there. So they're all about, re trying to make use of their budget as wise as possible, as efficient as possible. And I think, sometimes you need mass exposure of your game, but sometimes you need specific audiences that you want so that they have higher engagement or hopefully like purchase that would lead to organic purchases. And also, we don't want to like from our perspective, we don't want to have like ad banners here and there. That's kind of annoying for gamers. So we want to have make like a fun interactive campaign so that we can leave positive impression from the beginning, instead of like, oh, this ad is following me here there, like I hate this thing. But rather than that, it's better to have some kind of fun event or giveaways or all those events the publishers want. So we've done several campaigns, but I think the one of the most successful one was with Capcom when they launched or pre-launched before they launched Monster Hunter Wilds. We did a pre-launch sales event. So we specifically targeted those people who have played the Monster Hunter franchise and all that. So what we did is we created a landing page where people just come in and leave comments about like what they expect from Monster Hunter Wilds title, what they would like to see. If they do that, they're automatically entering into a draw of giveaways. I think we did like giving away food coupons here and there. We sometimes do Steam Decks. We did that one with another. And then also on top of that, we gave them coupons so that they can get discounts when they purchase Monster Hunter Wilds, because we also have our own store, like e-store, where we sell Steam keys.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that went pretty well. I think about 4,000 people bought the game within a month. That was pretty big because we're not like Capcom. We're not like Humble Bundle, or we're
Yeah.
not Steam. so but that was pretty big. And also on top of that, like it drew attention so that new users came in at the same time. Like we made revenue while acquiring new users.
Indeed. No indie would turn that one down, Brian.
Absolutely not. And again, what you're talking about makes so much sense, George, because one of the while games generate a huge amount of data, and we hear this from so many of our guests, Peggy,
Mm,
you can
Yeah.
only see what your players are doing in your game. And so
mm,
all of the culture and community, as we said earlier, is distributed. So pulling this together in a place where you can actually see what your players are doing, see where they gather, has immense value. And if you can action that, as you were just saying, George, through the sale of Steam keys, then that's a powerful tool.
mm,
And that's going with the trend. Just to unpack this, because I can imagine someone in our audience saying, yeah, this is a boost. This is extra. I can still do my campaigns, but I can be very targeted when I
mhm.
work with Minimap. How does that work? And maybe some numbers so that we understand a little bit more about, how can I build this into my diversification strategy? And what can I sort of be aiming for? What's realistic here? I don't know how many members you have or the reach. I just know that you're bringing it global. So give
Mhm.
us some ideas there so that people in our audience can start to plan and think ahead.
We're still a startup, so we're a small company, but we have about current user pool is about 130,000-ish. For some companies, it could be small, obviously, like, AAA studios like Sony or whatever, 2K. They might be like, oh, this is so small, but still, that's a big, good number, especially
Since
when you're,
I mean,
yeah, when,
targeting is so
yeah,
precise. It's like
yes.
there's hits and not many misses.
Exactly, exactly. It's like you have higher chance of, getting a user to buy your game or again, check out your game. But the number is still growing. I mean, steadily but surely growing.
So who are you after? What sort of studios and what sort of studios or even games and genres? Is it across the board open to everybody? Or are you looking for those earlier on in their journey? Just give us a sense of who should get in touch.
If you're interested in like actually running ad campaigns, obviously a bigger studio might be better because they have the fund for it.
Mhm.
But even if you're small indie dev or solo dev, I'm really open to talking with you and see if there's like a fun stuff that we can do together, or like an event, small event, even if it's small. Obviously, those indie devs would love to have it because they don't have the time and money to do those kind of events, and that's why they send email like cold emails to like thousands of people trying to see if someone is interested. But I think I'm also have my own network as well, so I'll be willing to help out and see if there's some fun stuff we can do together. And also I don't know if I mentioned this, but we also have our own database. So we
Wow.
have built our own database, meaning that we do use public APIs from different platforms, but we also can manually edit, delete, add games to our system.
Mhm.
So that itself actually took years of coding. And that we have over 160,000 games in the system. So that's basically any game starting from like year of 2000, early 2000s, I think. And also, if you have retro games that you want us to add to our system, we can manually do that. Each game has a separate game page on our website, and in order for us to actually sync the game that from our database to the actual data that you have on your platform, we have to have like our own database, because sometimes game publishers would release the same exact game under different names for different regions, different dates, different platforms. Sometimes they delete it. Sometimes they merge it into one director's cut, title or something. So that's why we have decided that we can't just rely on outside source for that, because once they shut it down or once they do whatever they want to, then we have to follow them. But since we have our own database, we have our protected stuff that we can control. And some indie devs, I think they're like what 20,000 or almost 20,000 games that are going to
Mhm.
be released this year. So
Yeah.
some small indie devs, our system or our database don't have their games, but we can manually add that so that they also can get noticed. They have their own game page. So yeah, they can use that
Is
as
it
well.
like a huge hypermarket shopping mall destination for games? It's not an app store, but it's a showroom.
When it comes to communities around games, it's the developer and publisher has always been playing catch up. They've had to try and own the space. Otherwise, somebody else will own it for them. And, you'll have a Discord channel that you can only be a member of. And so you're subject to the whims of a fan, and that can flip really quickly. So having a community with that structure, with that sort of level of control, I guess, in the hands of a third party, but a trusted third party, I can absolutely see the value. So what have been the responses that you've been getting from the companies, creators that you're working with?
That's why I think a lot of partners are coming back to us with, whenever they have a new title. We've been working closely with companies like Sega. Smilegate is a big company here in Korea, and Sony. So I think we're giving them what they want, or what they're looking for, I would say. For our users, they absolutely love it. We're going to give everything that we have for free. Obviously, you can just come in and sync your game accounts, have all your data is shown on your profile and all that. And but people just never heard of Minimap before, so they're like, oh, what is this website? Like there's like this, signing up. They can visit it, but like signing up and giving them your gaming account is like a little bit hesitant.
Does it date me, or even possibly you, Brian, to think that this reminds me a lot of the Facebook blueprint? Give people a place to connect, give them a place to be social.
I think we've been lacking a sort of a cohesive community for games for years, Peggy. I remember way back, the first game I ever worked on, George, was Grand Theft Auto. And the publisher set up one of these newfangled forums at the time, where people could go and gather. And it was run by the publisher and really heavily policed. And so from the earliest days of my career, I've been involved in communities, but it's always been stuck, almost ghetto, spaces. Yeah. And now, of course, as we said at the top of the show, it can be distributed across dozens of channels. And, some people love Discord. I find it like Slack with ADHD. Not the biggest fan. So I get it that, people want to share their gaming life, their gaming profile, their progress and their victories and achievements. But it's really hard, because if you are the publisher, signing up for giving your data to EA never seems like a good idea, or having multiple accounts with your EAs and your Activisions, your Take-Twos. Again, it just means that you've got so many silos. So this opens things up, and a Facebook for gaming. Maybe you and I are of an age where that still seems like an exciting thing. A lot of people, Facebook are now just the enemy.
I know.
But I get it.
I know.
I really do.
I mean, what is your goal here, George? I'm curious. We're comparing you here to Facebook. That might be a little ambitious at this point, but
or indeed insulting. So forgive us.
Yes, exactly. Please do.
Yeah. I think our company actually started off as our CEO or our co-founder saying like, oh, what if there's like a actual place where there's like only everything is about games, whether games and everyone just, come hang out. I think that's how they all started it. So I think that's exactly what we're trying to provide here, especially for the users. I know we've been getting so many positive feedbacks from our users. Korean users have been there for longer than the US users, because we opened the US server in 2023, but the Korean one has been there since like 2017. So it's been long, and they all really, really like love it, because it's a place where they can just kind of geek out about games, like just talk about games. Doesn't matter. Like if you write 1,000-word essay of reviews, no one will like say, oh, you're a dork, or what are you doing here? So I think we're trying to create this place where gamers are just too excited to just come in and meet other people. I mean, I know there are places like Discord and Reddit and sometimes Twitter, but I wouldn't say they're like specifically for gamers yet. Discord is very hard to catch up if they're like, there are already like groups of people that are very, very close to each other, try to like get into the conversation, mostly like ignored, or your chat just like flies by. So
Well, that's it. It's transient. You know,
mm,
it's not establishing a profile and building your own space. It's
right.
just, as you say, you have to run to keep up. Maybe
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
why I'm not the biggest Discord fan, because uh, if you only dip in, you
Right.
can miss so much.
Mm.
So what are you seeing with all of these games, all of these different things? How are you seeing the audience change, the games, the genres change, the kind of games that people are playing?
I honestly think it used to be like where games were very like each game that comes out every year was like valuable and it's like a unique and special thing back in the day. Like, if one game comes like GTA or 2 or whatever comes out, they're like, oh, we have to go play this game. But now with what, like 20, like I said, like 20,000 games coming out every year, now people are saying like, oh, I'm going to play a game that I like instead of the game that everyone plays. And that's why I think a place like Minimap is very unique because now we can share your own unique individual gaming
Mhm.
experience. Some people like to play niche games, a lot of indie games are getting the spotlight now. I
Yeah.
honestly I actually kind of like it because, we have so many creative ideas. Like who would have thought like climbing the mountain game would sell like 10 million copies, or games like Schedule One would all of a sudden gain so much attention. So I think
Mhm.
we're trying to build a community. I would say like a place, like a
Yeah.
safe and
Mhm.
fun place for gamers to just, connect with each other, just share their experience and keep your own thing. And also we have you can make your own profile secret so like no one else can see it unless they follow you. So you can make it as like a secret diary of your own. So I think we're trying to
Yeah.
create a place like that.
So you have some visibility into the player data. I mean, within reason,
Hmm.
it is player verified data. What do you think about that in game marketing? Are we going to be going that way? Are we early in that shift? Is there something interesting that you've even seen when you look into that data, anonymized as it
Hmm.
might?
I think I think it'll totally shift that way. Like marketing used to be, there was like search marketing, then like interest marketing, and I think now it's more about actually targeting specific data because with the technology also advancing in many different areas and industries, companies are more focusing on the result and the numbers. I've seen so many like, games that go viral, but they don't sell that well
Hmm.
Mhm.
because like just because you have visibility or discoverability doesn't mean your game is actually going to sell. So that's like a two different. It might be famous, but might be well known, but that does not mean people are willing to open their wallet and actually go buy the game. So those are two, I would say, very different. So in terms of marketing perspective, I think data is going to play a very heavy role. Um, going into the future as well.
Mm, So, George, just give us a bit of an overview of where you're at right now. You've mentioned Steam and a Steam sale. What platforms do you cover at Minimap, and what are your plans for the future as the industry continues to evolve around us?
We currently offer Steam, Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation. We are also planning on adding Epic, and we'll
Mhm.
probably try to add Google Play as well for mobile. I know Apple, you cannot get any information from them, so they're not going to give up any information. So that might be a tough one unless they change their
Mhm.
policy. Nintendo also actually, a fun fact, Nintendo is actually very secretive about giving away their information, but we have managed to do it somehow, we're very proud of.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but anyways,
congratulations on
Yeah,
that. That's
really.
no mean feat.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, George, let's flip the mic for a second, because as we
Mhm.
said at the beginning of the episode, you're also a podcast host, and you have spoken to, I think it was around 40 indie developers in your podcast. So, is there something that you've learned from speaking to that many studios about how great games get made that you don't think maybe gets talked about enough?
when I started the podcast, I had no idea that this is gonna be something that I have this much passion in. I honestly learned so much, not just about gaming, but about like life from all these
Mhm.
different indie game developers.
Mhm.
These people are like hardworking people who have passion in creating a universe for gamers to enjoy. I have never heard anyone say, "Oh, I'm doing this for the money." They never said, "Oh, I want to turn out to be Balatro Dev or I want to sell like millions of copies or something." They just want to make enough money to create something like another game.
Oh,
So I think a lot of people don't understand is these games are actually made by human beings. And also they're people that are hardworking and kind and nice, just like everyone else in this world, or most of the people in this world. So I think people should kind of think about that for like, I mean, for a second before they, write horrible things about the games, like, yeah, sometimes it just, I mean, I know like, being honest is very important, like, criticizing about the game and all that is very, very important. But like sometimes they're like, oh, the game sucks. The other person who made this is probably horrible or something, but it's
Yeah.
never their intention. And they are very, very happy about every single um, reaction that these gamers give them by playing their games. So I
Mhm.
think that's what gamers should kind of know or kind of think about a little bit before buying a game or deciding not to buy the game.
Yeah. We are driven by passion as
Yes.
players and as creators.
Hmm.
And that passion can flip, and you can get into some fairly dark places if you're not thinking about the human at the other end of
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So I'm with you 100%. Let's use the passion, use the enthusiasm, keep that alive. But yeah, you don't have to be um there is a well-known phrase in the internet which says don't be a but
Yeah.
this is a family-friendly podcast. But yeah, just
Yeah.
keep it nice, folks.
Yeah, and also, I mean, giving them feedback is awesome. Like, that's what devs want. Like, if there's something that you don't like, maybe give them a feedback, or maybe, say, "Oh, this part I don't think I like it," or "You should probably improve on this one." But I think that's, yeah, the best way to give them energy to go on and make another game.
mhm.
I want to leave that in the past,
Hmm.
but then take you into the past and ask you the two questions that all of our guests get before they leave us, which is, what's your favorite game of all time, and what are you playing right now that's obsessing you? So give us two good ones. I'm
Oh
expecting
my
high
God.
things, George. I won't lie.
Oh. Wow. I'm gonna start with the game that I'm playing.
Okay.
I started playing Hollow Knight because of the Silk
Okay.
Song release that's coming soon. I'm trying, but it's giving me vertigo. So I've tried it for 30 minutes or so, and then I have rested for an hour or two, and then I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna keep trying until I can get it. And also, I've been playing a lot of mobile games because of the fact that my daughter is very young, and the
Mhm.
only time I can actually play game is when I'm commuting. So I've been playing a lot of mobile games. I still play Hearthstone. I've been playing that game for over 10 years now. 2015 I started playing.
Wow.
I play it here and there. So that's the game that I'm currently playing. Um, but my favorite game of all time has to be, well, there are many, but like if I have to pick one, I would say Diablo 2. Uh,
Wrong choice.
Yeah.
because it also, I mean, it gives me a lot of memories, and also as an Asian or as a Korean, growing up in Korea, my parents weren't fond of me playing games at all when I was a teenager. They would not let me play any games. Um, so I would have to like sneak out and go to these PC cafes and,
Mhm.
play an hour or two, whatever. But one day, my dad, who has never allowed me to play like, more than 30 minutes per session, he actually bought me Diablo 2, actual like
Wow.
physical title one day.
Okay.
And that was like so I still couldn't believe it, but like at the time I was like, what is going on? Like like what is it Christmas? Like what's happening? And then he actually bought it. I don't know why. I never actually asked him the reason, but I think maybe it's because, it was big. It was becoming a big thing back
Mm.
then, and then maybe he just wanted his son to try it out. So that game has like gives me a lot of, but I still couldn't play more than an hour per session, even if you bought the game. But I mean, it
Yeah.
gives you, good memories playing it. I mean, game itself is also one of the best games I would say ever made by Blizzard. Um,
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah. It's
yes.
I was a big fan back in the day, but
Mm,
like you, I'm a parent, so 90% of my gaming right now is on mobile. So
Yeah.
great answers, George. Great answers, and what a fantastic show. Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. Thank you for introducing our audience to Minimap, and
mm.
hopefully you'll be hearing from many of them as they get in touch to find out more.
This show is all about how to do your job better, how to make an amazing game, how to market it, and you have a say. So if you have a story or know someone we need to shine a light on, then we would love to hear from you.
We want to hear from you. We want to reflect the reality of the mobile games market in all its wonderful complexity and strangeness. So if you have any suggestions for us, if you have any feedback for us, you can always get in touch. You can email us at podcast@PocketGamer.biz. You can find us on Twitter @PGBiz, and you can reach out to us through the PocketGamer.biz website. If you're interested in listening to all of our podcasts, you can find them at pocketgamer.biz/podcast, and we would love to hear your thoughts on future shows.
And we've got you covered on all the major platforms, so subscribe to the audio podcast, as Brian said. Look for us on YouTube. If you want to read it, hey, you can do that too, because we have a companion post for you as well on the PocketGamer.biz website.
Tune in again for the next edition of the PocketGamer.biz podcast, and we look forward to speaking to you in the near future.